Across America, the word foreclosure is back. For years, easy credit, pandemic forbearance, and government relief kept the housing market from collapse. But now, in 2025, the safety nets are gone, and the fallout is here. In cities that once saw record home prices, lenders are quietly seizing properties again. Homeowners who stretched budgets during the boom are defaulting under the weight of higher mortgage rates, insurance costs, and taxes. The result? America's foreclosure map is lighting up. From the Midwest to the coasts, from starter homes to suburban estates. This isn't the 2008 crisis. It's something quieter, but just as dangerous. You're watching Discover the Nation, and today we're counting down the 10 U.S. cities where foreclosures are surging again. Stay with us until number 1, and if you care about where the economy is really heading, subscribe now for more cinematic, data-driven stories like this.
Number 10, Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland knows the word foreclosure better than most. It was ground zero during the 2008 housing crash, and now history is repeating itself. In 2025, foreclosure filings in the Cleveland metro are up 38% year over year, the highest surge since the pandemic. The city's mix of aging homes, stagnant wages, and rising property taxes has created the perfect storm for collapse. Families who refinanced during the low-rate era now face ballooning insurance premiums and repair costs that eat up savings. Those who bought in 2021 or 2022 at peak prices are watching their home values crumble beneath them, equity evaporating overnight. In neighborhoods like Slavic Village, Mount Pleasant, and Old Brooklyn, you can feel the tension in the air. Streets that once showed signs of revival are again dotted with boarded windows and overgrown lawns. Bank-owned and auction-pending signs hang like scars from a past Cleveland hoped it had healed from. Investors are back, not to build wealth, but to manage disaster. They're buying back homes they once flipped, this time to minimize losses. The average foreclosure timeline has been cut nearly in half, from 13 months to just 7. Lenders aren't waiting anymore. They're acting fast, pushing families out before they have a chance to recover. Court dockets are clearing, but the human cost is growing. Even solid middle-income households with 2 earners, good credit, and years of stability are falling behind. Local analysts say this isn't a housing correction, it's fatigue. A decade of inflation, shrinking paychecks, and mounting costs has hollowed out Cleveland's resilience. The city's recovery was supposed to mark the Rust Belt's rebirth. Instead, it's becoming a warning shot to every American city living paycheck to paycheck. When wages stop growing, but bills don't, the crash never really ends. It just waits.
Number 9. Las Vegas, Nevada. Las Vegas has always lived on the edge, but in 2026, it's teetering off it. After years of dizzying highs, record tourism, and unchecked speculation, foreclosure filings are up 42% year over year, the steepest climb in the entire Southwest. The same city that symbolized America's post-pandemic comeback is now flashing warning lights from every cul-de-sac and condo tower. A $400,000 home purchased in 2021 at a 3% rate now costs almost $900 more per month under current rates. For middle-class families, casino employees, hospitality workers, nurses, and teachers, that gap is impossible to close. Credit cards are maxed, savings accounts are empty, and delinquencies are rising fast. Entire communities in Henderson, North Las Vegas, and Summerlin have become silent battlegrounds. For sale signs stay up for months, fading in the desert sun. Streets that once buzzed with optimism are growing quieter, except for the rumble of moving trucks leaving behind half-finished dreams. The short-term rental market, once a golden goose, has turned into a burden. Airbnb occupancy has plunged below 50%, and nightly rates have collapsed by nearly a third. Investors who banked on tourism and fast money are watching their profits vanish. For the first time since the crash of 2008, Even banks are struggling to unload foreclosed properties quickly enough. And this time, it's not reckless buyers or risky loans. It's everyone else. Middle-class professionals, couples who bought during the boom, retirees who downsized, all are trapped in homes worth less than their mortgage balance. Las Vegas has always called itself the city of second chances. But as the bright lights of the Strip mask growing darkness in the neighborhoods beyond, it's clear the game has changed. This time, it's not the gamblers who are losing, it's the people who thought they were playing it safe.
Number 8. Phoenix, Arizona. The desert boom has turned into a debt storm, and Phoenix is right at its center. Once a shining emblem of post-pandemic prosperity, Phoenix is now cracking beneath the weight of its own expansion. Foreclosures are up 35% year over year, construction is slowing, and thousands of homes sit on the market longer than at any point in the last decade. For years, investors and Californians fleeing high costs flooded the valley, driving prices beyond reason. But in 2026, the mirage has evaporated, revealing a fragile foundation built on borrowed time. Mortgage rates hovering near 7%, surging property taxes, and insurance premiums that have doubled or even tripled since 2020 have left families desperate. Thousands who bought in 2022, at the height of the frenzy, now owe $30,000 to $60,000 more than their homes are worth. The American dream of ownership is turning into a desert illusion. Suburbs like Mesa, Buckeye, and Goodyear, once the poster children of Arizona's growth, are now seeing courthouse auctions fill weekly calendars. Foreclosure notices are stacking higher each month, and even institutional landlords are feeling the strain. Hedge funds that once bought entire subdivisions now account for 1 in 5 new defaults. Their rent revenues no longer cover debt, forcing mass sell-offs at losses that ripple across the market. Construction has slowed to a crawl. Lumber yards sit idle, cranes stand motionless, and builders are shelving new projects indefinitely. The fear is spreading, not just among homeowners, but across the economy. Local banks are tightening lending, and first-time buyers are stepping away entirely, waiting for a bottom that may not arrive soon. Phoenix's skyline still gleams in the sunlight, but beneath the surface, it tells a darker story, one of overconfidence, overheating, and exhaustion. The boom that once defined the desert's rise has turned into a sandstorm of debt, and this time, even the brightest sun can't hide the shadows.
Number 7. Orlando, Florida. The happiest place on earth has a new nickname among realtors, foreclosure country. In 2025, foreclosure filings in the Orlando metro surged 47% year over year, one of the steepest spikes in the Southeast. But unlike past collapses fueled by reckless lending, this one has a new villain: insurance. Florida's insurance crisis has reached catastrophic levels. Premiums have tripled in some counties, and even though Orlando sits inland, it hasn't escaped the fallout. Every renewal brings fresh shock: $4,000, $6,000, even $9,000 a year for basic coverage. Add HOA dues, utilities, and inflation, and homeowners are suffocating under affordable homes they can no longer afford. In many suburbs, the total cost of ownership now exceeds $3,200 a month, while median income hovers around $68,000. That math doesn't work, and thousands are realizing it too late. The hardest hit are pandemic peak buyers, those who bought between 2020 and 2022, believing record low rates would last forever. Now, as property taxes and insurance double, defaults are rising fastest among these newer homeowners. Real estate agents are seeing a chilling return of short sales and distressed listings. Some owners are begging lenders for forgiveness, others are simply mailing in the keys. The echoes of 2009 are unmistakable, but this time the problem isn't reckless loans, it's relentless expenses. Even renters are caught in the crossfire. Landlords buried under the same insurance hikes are defaulting too, displacing families with little warning. For Orlando, the fairy tale has faded. The city that built dreams on sunshine and tourism is waking to a harsher reality, one of shrinking savings, stalled sales, and a middle class priced out of paradise.
Number 6. Chicago, Illinois.
In Chicago, the foreclosure crisis hasn't returned with a bang. It's crept back in quietly, block by block, paycheck by paycheck. Foreclosure filings in Cook County are up 36% year over year, and the pressure is spreading through neighborhoods that fought tooth and nail to recover from the last crash. Property taxes keep rising, wages haven't, and the cost of simply keeping the lights on has soared. Heating bills have doubled, insurance is at historic highs, and groceries now cost families hundreds more each month. For many Chicagoans, this isn't a temporary squeeze anymore. It's a slow bleed. The south and west sides tell the story most vividly. Streets once reclaimed by first-time buyers are slipping back into disrepair. Boarded windows, overgrown lawns, bank-owned signs returning like ghosts. Mortgage counselors say their phones never stop ringing. People who never missed a payment before are now months behind, trapped between rising costs and shrinking incomes. But this isn't about reckless borrowing or speculative bubbles. It's about economic exhaustion. Inflation has eaten through every layer of stability. Even middle-income families with good jobs, police officers, teachers, nurses, are running out of options. And it's not just homeowners. Renters who managed to buy during the pandemic are now watching their savings vanish, one emergency repair or tax hike at a time. The city's ambitious programs to revitalize neighborhoods are stalling as investors pull out, wary of what's coming next. Chicago's skyline still glitters at sunset, a symbol of strength and survival. But beyond those gleaming towers, entire communities are fighting to hold on to homes that feel more like burdens than blessings. The city that rose from fire and steel now faces a quieter destruction, an invisible one powered by inflation, inequality, and fatigue. Chicago has always rebuilt before, but this time the fire's not outside, it's burning from within. Number 5, Houston, Texas. Houston was supposed to be recession-proof, the economic engine of the South. But even engines seize when oil, debt, and disaster collide. In 2025, foreclosure filings jumped 39% year over year, marking one of Houston's sharpest declines since the oil bust. The culprit? A toxic mix of rising insurance costs, job losses, and climate exposure. Homeowners who once paid $2,500 a year for insurance are now shelling out over $5,000, and that's before mandatory flood coverage, which has doubled since 2020. For properties near bayous or low-lying zones, insurance has become nearly unattainable. When policies lapse, lenders step in with force-placed insurance, often 3 times the cost. Suddenly, a manageable mortgage becomes a financial trap. Add in higher property taxes and a softening job market, and the pressure becomes unbearable. Energy layoffs earlier this year sent shockwaves through the region. Thousands of workers in oil, construction, and logistics lost jobs or hours, leaving behind half-finished mortgages and drained savings. Realtors call it the quiet unraveling. Listings are up, showings are down, and for sale signs stand like tombstones on once proud cul-de-sacs. Investors are circling, but cautiously, cherry-picking foreclosures, making insultingly low offers, waiting for the market to buckle further. Meanwhile, ordinary families are walking away from homes they can no longer afford to insure, sell, or maintain. Even the city's famous resilience, its ability to rebuild after floods and hurricanes, is being tested like never before. Because this time, the disaster isn't natural, it's financial. Houston's skyscrapers and refineries still gleam in the sun, but beneath that skyline, the city's true foundation, its working families, is cracking under a flood of rising.
Number 4, Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta's housing boom hasn't just cooled, it's reversed violently. Across the metro, foreclosures are up 48% year over year, driven by skyrocketing property taxes, ballooning insurance premiums, and wages that simply can't keep pace with inflation. Suburbs like Gwinnett, Cobb, and Henry County, once havens for middle-class families, now top Georgia in default notices. During the pandemic, buyers rushed in with low-down payment loans or adjustable-rate mortgages, betting that growth would never stop. But when those rates reset, monthly payments jumped by $500 to $800, pushing thousands into default. Even well-earning professionals, teachers, nurses, engineers, are falling behind. Investors once treated Atlanta like a sure bet, snatching up entire subdivisions. Now they're unloading those same properties at steep losses. Nearly a third of all foreclosures involve corporate-owned homes, proving that even Wall Street's data models can't outcalculate a downturn. Homes that sold for $400,000 just 3 years ago are now worth closer to $340,000. Equity has vanished, and with it, people's sense of progress. Open houses sit empty for months. Real estate agents whisper that 2026 could bring the worst housing pullback since 2008. The emotional weight is suffocating. Homeowners call banks pleading for mercy. Pride is giving way to panic. In a city built on ambition and hustle, many now feel trapped in homes that were supposed to represent a rival. Atlanta was once the city too busy to hate, but in 2025, it's become something new. A city too burdened to breathe.
Number 3. Los Angeles, California. In Los Angeles, the foreclosure crisis has gone upscale, and it's spreading like wildfire. Default notices across LA County are up 51% this year, reaching into neighborhoods that once seemed untouchable. From Sherman Oaks to Pasadena and across the San Fernando Valley, multi-million-dollar homes are being repossessed at rates unseen since the Great Recession. This isn't a low-income crisis, it's a collapse of confidence. Property taxes have exploded with soaring appraisals, and insurance premiums now rival rent payments. Adjustable-rate mortgages, popular among luxury buyers chasing low interest during the boom, have reset with vengeance, hiking monthly costs by $2,000 to $4,000. Even mid-tier areas like Van Nuys, Torrance, and Whittier are feeling the fallout. Notice of trustee sale posters, once reserved for 2009, are reappearing. Once pristine lawns now show weeds. Blocks once lit by open house balloons sit dark. Real estate agents whisper that this downturn feels different. It's not reckless lending or speculation, it's burnout. After years of inflation, relentless cost of living hikes, and property maintenance bills that rival tuition, homeowners are simply walking away. Even the wealthy are calculating surrender. Some are defaulting on purpose, not because they can't pay, but because they won't. They've decided the math no longer justifies the struggle. Los Angeles has always been a city built on dreams and ambition, a place where belief itself felt like currency. But in 2025, the arithmetic has changed, and in this new equation, hard work, hope, and hustle aren't enough to keep the lights on.
Number 2. Tampa, Florida. Tampa's housing boom once looked unstoppable. Now, it's crumbling faster than anyone thought possible. Foreclosure filings are up 55% since 2023, the sharpest jump in Florida. The culprit? Insurance, the invisible wrecking ball crushing the state's homeowners. Premiums have tripled in just 3 years, forcing residents to pay more for coverage than for their mortgages. Even inland neighborhoods are feeling the pain. In coastal zones, insurance costs regularly exceed $10,000 per year, and property taxes keep rising in tandem. Add flood zone assessments, HOA dues, and hurricane repairs, and suddenly the Florida dream has become a financial nightmare. Retirees on fixed incomes are abandoning homes they once planned to pass down. Young families can't afford insurance renewals, and mid-level investors, once the market's heartbeat, are defaulting after months of unpaid premiums and vacant rentals. Homes that once fetched $500,000 at the peak of 2022 now struggle to attract buyers above $400,000. Price cuts of $100,000 or more are becoming standard, and still, deals fall through. What's most shocking is the speed of the collapse. In less than 18 months, Tampa went from bidding wars to ghost listings. Inventory has ballooned 70%, pending sales have evaporated, and every week the foreclosure docket grows longer. For Tampa, the threat isn't just economic, it's existential. Because when insurance alone can sink a homeowner, what happens to the cities built closest to the water? The answer is already visible: a paradise priced beyond survival.
Number 1. Detroit, Michigan. Detroit's foreclosure story has always been deeply human and hauntingly cyclical. For this city, recovery was never permanent, it was merely paused. While the rest of America celebrated a post-recession boom, Detroit's comeback remained fragile, built on community grit and thin margins. Now, in 2025, those margins are gone. Foreclosure filings in Wayne County are up 62% year over year, the largest jump in the nation. The math tells a grim truth. Wages have barely moved, while insurance and utility costs have doubled. Home repair expenses, roofs, furnaces, plumbing have skyrocketed 40%. And in a city where the average home is over 70 years old, every breakdown becomes a financial emergency. But this crisis isn't just personal, it's structural. Investors who bought up entire blocks after 2015, hoping to profit from Detroit's rebirth, are now walking away. Maintenance costs, unpaid taxes, and falling rents have wiped out their margins. Abandoned houses are multiplying again, hollow shells of speculation and exhaustion. Even worse, property tax foreclosures, a uniquely Detroit plague, are claiming homes over debts as small as $2,000 or $3,000. Families who survived the 2008 crash are losing the very same homes all over again. The emotional toll is staggering. Parents pack boxes while children ask why they have to move again. Streets that were regaining life, fresh paint, new gardens, pride, are falling silent once more. Detroit's collapse isn't a sudden fall. It's erosion, slow, relentless, and heartbreakingly familiar. And as another wave of boarded windows spreads across its neighborhoods, America is forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. The ghosts of 2008 never left. They just waited for the next recession to wake them.
From California to Michigan, from Florida to Ohio, one truth is becoming clear. America's housing crisis never ended, it just evolved. Today, the problem isn't predatory lending or exotic mortgages, it's inflation, insurance, taxes, risk. Home ownership was once the cornerstone of stability. Now, it's the source of stress. The next collapse won't come from Wall Street, it'll come from the mailbox, one missed payment at a time. You've been watching Discover the Nation. For more cinematic breakdowns of America's housing and economic reality, subscribe now and stay tuned, because the storm isn't coming, it's already here.